Good morning, Kathleen
morning,
Klingen,
Peg.
formerly known as Sister Patricia Ann.
Correct.
We'll find out how you got that later on. So thank you for coming and responding to the invitation. And what we're very interested in is, to begin with, is, where you grew up, something about your family dynamics. That's a very important part of who we are at this time. And
Okay.
our relationships, our early relationships, our spirituality, our mentors, etc. But let's start off with the family. Now, you were born in Chicago,
I was born on the south side of Chicago.
the south side.
There's a south side and a north side.
That's right.
But I am a Chicago fan when it comes to any of the teams. So
Now, were you ready to change when the Detroit Lions were so good this year?
I did support them and
Okay,
watch
very
them.
good, okay.
But they weren't playing a Chicago team, so that was easy. Okay, I was born on the south side. I have two brothers. One was an older brother. He's deceased, Bill. And the two of us really grew up together because my younger brother wasn't born until 11 years later.
So there's two boys and a girl.
Right. So my younger brother's still living, retired, but living. We're very close.
What's his name?
Peter.
Pete.
Yeah. So, and my mother worked evenings. She was a waitress. So,
Wow.
right in a restaurant, in the neighborhood. So, I spent a lot of evenings coming home from school and coming home from high school, taking care of him with my father there. But,
Yeah,
I stepped in. And that was fine. Sometimes it was difficult.
Like-
But it was a lot of responsibility, I think, early on.
What made it difficult?
Well, I couldn't participate in active,
Oh, okay.
like especially sports at
Yeah.
Aquinas. I went to Aquinas. I also went to St. Albie's on the south side, which is still operating.
And that was Adrian Dominican Sisters?
No, it was the Nashville Dominicans.
That's
I had
right.
them until I was in 8th grade
Oh,
when the Adrians came, and we were very disappointed.
sure.
Sue Gardner, myself, and Mary Beth Howell
Oh,
were
that's
all at
right.
St. Albie's around the same time and entered around the same time.
And you were disappointed when
The Nashville nuns were
That-
leaving.
yeah.
And we were very close to them.
Oh,
We
that's good.
I always helped them after school or was getting school ready for the new year, opening boxes and books and
So
things
so
like
that
that.
could have been something too that attracted you
absolutely.
to religious life.
Yeah, I liked the nuns at that time. So
Okay.
still remember them, most of them. And then
Why did they leave?
they only had two schools in the north. One
Uh-huh.
was in Ohio and then St. Albie's in Chicago. I have no idea. But yeah,
They left, and then
they
the
left.
Adrian Dominicans.
The Adrians came. I was in 8th grade, and so we kind of gave them a hard time as 8th
Well, that
graders.
is hard if you had them for almost 7 years, and then, yeah. So you gave them a
So-
hard time.
We did.
Who in particular did you give a hard time to?
Mostly the principal. I think it was Marie Joachim. And I had a lay teacher in 8th grade. So, and she was very good. And she had been there. We knew her.
Uh-huh.
She was the aunt of one of the kids in the room.
Cute.
So we got away with quite a bit, but we were very loud. And Marie Joachim would come in and write on the board, 3:30 dismissal. And I think, boy, in the years that I taught later, you could never do that. You'd have to call every parent and let them know
Oh, right.
that their kids weren't coming home today. Anyway, so that was my beginning. And then I went to Aquinas. I loved the time at Aquinas and very involved,
And you all thought you were just so special when you entered the congregation, Aquinas, the Aquinas women.
Right, it was always the Aquinas clique, I
Clique,
understand.
yeah.
Well, when I entered, there were just two of us.
Oh,
And
okay.
the other postulant left. So I know I was asked at one time, the Aquinas girls always had created a song for the novices. So, it's up to you. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Oh,
So that didn't
tradition
happen.
stops with me.
That's right. And I had the experience. I was, when I was a senior in high school, Sister Thomas Owen, Marge Megan was my sponsor. And, I was pretty well ready to come and had all my things in Adrian. And my father was sick. So Mother Genevieve was in Chicago visiting, and Sister Marge Megan called me, and she said, I just had a conversation with Mother Genevieve, and she thinks it's better if you wait. And I said, well, she already accepted me. So can't I come? And she said, no, it's better if you wait. She kept pressing the issue, you know. So I just left it at that. And that night, or the night before I was supposed to enter, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was just very peaceful. I said, you know, I don't think I should go. I know I shouldn't go. So I got up in the middle of the night and wrapped up a couple of pairs of cufflinks. We wore cufflinks at that time as Boshlins. Got like 6 different things out of my suitcase because I went to Adrian to give the other 6 people that were entering a little gift. And then I said goodbye and came home with one of the other
Did you
parents.
know any of those other 6 people?
Yeah, they're from
okay.
Aquinas.
Oh, from Aquinas, okay.
Yeah, there were 6 of us at the time. None of them have stayed over the years. But the best part of it was I ended up in the Mary Mother of Faith crowd, and we're very close, and it's very good for me. Really.
So it was a good wait.
Yes. And even the formers are very connected to us, continue to get together with us.
Isn't it amazing how smart the Spirit is?
Absolutely. I think the thing that, like a benchmark for me has always been in change of ministry or
Right,
whatever.
right.
If I feel peaceful,
Yeah.
I know
yeah,
it's the right decision.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
then I don't worry about it, I guess.
Until you
Like
accept.
this felt like the right decision,
Oh,
waiting.
well, aren't you peaceful right now?
I am.
Okay,
So,
okay. So that's,
Anyway.
well, back a little bit to your family. What was the family dynamics like? Your spirituality or,
oh, my mother was Catholic. My
Yeah.
father was not.
Okay.
He was Lutheran. So they never could get married in the church. They
Oh,
got married in the rectory. And my father was very supportive. Actually, on Sundays, he'd be the one to say, I think you have to go to church now. Because my mother would work nights. And, she went
Yeah.
like to the 12 o'clock
Yeah,
Mass.
yeah.
And he always wanted us to go earlier, I guess. So, but the best part of it is, even my mother didn't think a lot of the rules of the Catholic Church should be followed or needed to be followed.
way ahead of her time?
We'd come home, we went home for lunch, and she would give us vegetable soup, let's say, beef vegetable soup on Fridays, especially during Lent. I said, Mom, we can't eat this. Why not? And I said, because it's Friday. And she said, well, just eat it. She says, it'd be more of a sin if I have to throw that away.
Wise
So we
woman.
ate it. And like
Your
I said,
dear
my
mother.
dad, I don't know what he thought about the rules. So I always, and that's stuck with me too.
And they
I'm
were
not-
faithful to that rule, weren't they? I mean, here they could not get married in the
Yes.
church or the side altar
They
was-
weren't even in church. It was in the rectory.
because, oh my word, okay.
That's in the 40s, 44. I think they were, no, 43 maybe.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it wasn't that we were disrespectful.
No,
but,
no,
we just
yeah.
didn't. I remember going to Tuesday night's novena
Right,
with
Perpetual Help.
Perpetual Help,
Yeah.
only because one of my friends that I hung around with, she was Polish. And she always said, no, we have to go to this. So, I went. I can remember going most of the time. Our neighborhood was Irish, Polish, Mexican, Irish, Polish, and those are the kids that I hung around with. I never experienced any black people, except for the restaurant where my
Right.
mother worked. And she came home one time and she told my father she wanted to go to this wake, and it was one of the black employees. Somebody died in the family. My mother said, I want to go to that wake. And he said, absolutely, we'll go.
Oh,
So
good to be
there was never a question.
No,
Until
no.
I got to Aquinas, I never really interchanged with any
yeah.
of the black kids.
I think a lot of us our age had that experience, right?
Right, right.
So then you went to Aquinas to high school and you had great time in high school,
Yes, I love the time there.
great teachers.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Joan Marconi was my chemistry teacher. She just
Great.
passed away.
Yes, I know. Joan was
recently.
in Florida a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think most of them are deceased. Marie Noreen is still living. She's
Yes.
like in her 90s. She's
Yeah.
out in
Yeah,
California.
yeah.
Science teacher. And I remember her so well. I was in her room when we heard that Kennedy was shot.
Okay.
We were juniors. And so that sticks with you, you know, who you were, where
So
you were.
who do you think had the biggest influence? Any particular person that, you know, was the reason you entered, or it was just part of
I
who
think
you
it was
are?
part of
the spirit.
the whole Aquinas experience with the nuns. And like you said, we knew the girls ahead of us that went to Adrian, and we took a bus once a year, I think, stopped at Notre Dame, and then went in to visit the Pashons and novices from Aquinas. I think that's why there probably were so many from Aquinas.
Yeah, yeah, we had quite a few. Well, no, not quite a few. Then and Barry University was the other rival, Dominican.
Oh, yeah.
We just had
Sure.
a couple from Dominican. So there wasn't one person in particular, one sister in particular.
I don't think so.
You thought yourself that you just knew it was,
I knew it was
Yeah.
right. I knew
Yeah.
from the time I was in grammar school.
yeah.
You know.
All right, and people
That's what
always
I
say,
wanted to do.
how did you know? What was that like? We certainly know no one tapped you on the shoulder.
No, and no one spoke to me from
No.
the clouds.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a knowing
I was gonna
and
say,
a peacefulness,
yeah,
I guess. I
you
just,
know it.
that's the way,
Yeah.
I mean, I did have boyfriends in high school and,
Yeah.
you know, things like that, but I don't know, it just, the nuns were great.
Yeah, yeah, we have, the Adrian Dominicans were wonderful. So then you entered and you came here to Adrian, and you grew
I
up in-
waited a year,
Yeah,
like I said. My mother said, oh, when you start working downtown and you start bringing money home and you earn a salary and you get yourself a car, you'll never want to go to the convent. She didn't want me to go at all.
I kind of figured somewhat that,
Yeah.
yeah.
She,
Well, her
she's-
only daughter,
Yeah. I think of that often
Yeah.
now, you know, what she had to go through. I left, and then my brother was leaving to go to Vietnam at the same time.
so you had a brother, your youngest brother?
My older brother.
Oldest brother.
Yeah. So when I think about my parents, how difficult it was.
And
know?
you especially being the only
Oh,
daughter.
yeah. She said, when I was your age, I wanted to be a chorus girl. Why? Why do you want to be a nun? And did you know, she said, that when you come home, you can't even come in the house? I said, I don't think that's a rule, you know.
You haven't been keeping rules of the church, why keep rules of
But
the
it wasn't a
convent?
rule by the time I entered. So, anyway, I know when it got close to final profession, I said to her, did you want to buy me, a lot of the families buy a gold ring for the sisters?
Right.
No, she said, why would I want to do that? I don't even want you to go. So she didn't, and the sisters in the house did. Then, the day I made final profession, I said, well, would you at least hand me the ring?
So where's this famous ring? Do you have it on? Okay, okay, yeah, we got those thin ones.
So,
Yeah.
okay, she said, I can do that. And when she handed me the ring, she hugged me and she said, well, you have my blessing. It took 10 years, 12 years by the time she was able to say that. So, but her sisters, she had 3 sisters, and 2 of her sisters were very supportive of me going, and they used to talk to her and try to, while my mother
that's
was calling my friends and saying, can't you talk her out of this?
Isn't that something?
So it was strong in me. I just, you know, I said, okay, I'll go to work. I worked for Time Magazine, downtown Chicago.
Doing?
Well, I ended up in 3 different departments. I went from the mail department to the Time Magazine department and working in that area. And then I went into the checks and balances. And there were other girls from Aquinas that worked there. That's probably how I got the idea to even go and apply.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was very good.
The beginning of your administrative,
Maybe. I
Focus,
loved
but-
it. I
yeah,
really did.
yeah.
I did like it.
Yeah.
And my boss, in the last position that I had, she said to me, I was walking past her desk, and she said, did you ever think about being a nun?
you are kidding.
And I said, oh, no.
What
I didn't.
made her say that?
I don't know. Later, I told her.
Did-
All my
okay.
stuff was in Adrian, you know, already, because Mother Genevieve said I could leave it there. I said, I'll come later then. And then I wrote to her and asked if I could come around Christmas time or after Christmas.
February,
And she said, no, we don't do that anymore. So I had to wait till June to come. But anyway, this boss that I had, and later when I got to know her, you know, I told her. And one day she said to me, I want you to come with me when we go out for lunch. She said, we're going to walk down Michigan Avenue to the bank. She took out money, gave it to me, gave me a check to pay for my dowry. That's how much she supported the idea that, I would go in the convent.
Oh,
So that
my.
was kind of, it was nice to know that other people supported me. My father never said a word until the year I didn't go. I went to see him at the hospital, and he said, "You have to do what you want to do." In other words, don't listen to your mother, do what you feel you want to do. So he was supportive.
So he was in the hospital. He was sick. Did he?
He
die?
passed away when I was a novice.
Oh.
Yeah. But at that time, even at Christmas time when I was a novice, I went home to see him. He was
that's
sick
good.
at that time too. And, was allowed at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, certain days.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, that
So once
was
you left
home.
formation, in Adrian, the formation bit,
Mm-hmm.
did you have to go out, are you in the crowds that had to go out and get jobs?
No.
No, that was after you.
The year after.
Okay. Okay, so.
Because
then
we
you-
stayed in to study in the junior
Yeah,
rate. We
yeah.
lived over in, we were the first ones to live over in Weber.
Okay.
So we stayed at Weber. And no, but when we went out on mission, we were assigned. We got the
Right,
cards.
right.
That was the only time.
Yeah.
Was the first time.
Uh-huh.
And then the
Interesting.
second year I was at St. Scholastica's, there were not even superiors anymore. We went into coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And after that, you really had to find your own job.
Right, right.
So, I remember asking Dorothy Folliard one time during that junior rate, Pat Seaman she was going to Washington, D.C. to work in an internship with something. And I was going to go with her. Two of us were going to go and then bring the car back. And I thought, I don't know if I should go. I better get a job. So I went and asked Dorothy Folliard. She was on the council. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to teach. Oh, she said, just go on vacation. She said, a lay teacher always gets pregnant over the summer.
Oh.
Such
so you
good
had to-
advice.
uh-huh.
So when I came back, Sister Georgina called me.
Okay.
She knew me from
That's
Aquinas.
Nikki, yeah.
And she said, where have you been? I've been trying to get you. Anyway, she said, I have a job for you if you want it. It's third grade at Star of the Sea. So that's where I ended up. I said, okay.
All right, and then from there, you've been in administration, principal.
Well, I taught for probably about 20 years.
Okay,
Went to school in the evenings when I was working in the inner city.
yeah.
And, got my administrative degree then. And then I didn't get a principalship right away. But then I was a principal for 25 years.
Oh, my goodness.
After that.
Okay.
So, all good. When I worked in the inner city, I learned so much. I thought, and that's when we made the option for the poor and
Right,
all that.
right.
So then I realized that, you can work directly with the poor, learn a lot. I really learned what faith was there. And then when I went to St. Cyprian's as principal, I thought, well, you can work directly with the poor, or you can work with a middle-class community about the needs of the poor. So we stressed the Catholic social teachings a lot.
Good, good.
And in fact, one of my teachers said to me, I don't understand what this option for the poor is. Why do we have to have an option for the poor? I said, because I think, it's really based on the gospel. Oh, she said, So it was good. They were able to ask questions and come away with that. So that was very good. I loved my time at St. Cyprian's. And I was fortunate in the inner
You were
city.
principal that whole time?
I was fortunate when I was in the inner city. The priests that I had were wonderful, very supportive, but that's who went to the inner city, the priests that really wanted to do ministry.
Good. Good.
And then my time at St. Cyprian's, the same thing. The priests were very supportive and glad to have a school. One priest, the pastor, he didn't really want a Catholic school. He came from a parish that didn't have one. And it didn't take him long. He said, I don't know why I ever thought that way. He said, a parish with a Catholic school, he used to say, our kids. He said, I know I shouldn't say that, but they are our kids. So
Tell me this, in your work, particularly with the inner city, you certainly enjoyed it, and you certainly sound like you've had a wonderful life, except when you couldn't enter when you wanted to. But you have got to have some challenges. Is there, without mentioning names, is there any challenge in particular, and what you did to work through that, and how it affected the rest of your life to this point?
Well, I suppose the biggest challenges are in education. When you're trying to create something new, people are resistant. We have faculty that maybe don't want to participate, or relationships with parents.
Yeah.
Those, but you just deal with it. One parent said to me one time, and he was difficult to deal with. He said to me, "Don't be passive aggressive with me." But I didn't really know what to say to him. I thought, well, just let him talk. Another parent that, I thought the child was right on. I told him, I said, you know what, you'll graduate because you do know the right from wrong. I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about the choices you make. Well, it was a year after I left there. The father wrote me a long letter thanking me for all the times that conversations we had and all the disagreements. He said, "I understand now." So it all comes around. There are always dark days. There are always darkness in our life, and those are learning experiences.
Right, and you've had a few. Now, we never started out with your name. We always like to say, if you had a religious name, to mention that, because many people knew you through that, Patricia Ann. So you were formerly known as Sister Patricia Ann. How did you get that name?
Well, the woman that paid my dowry, she liked the name Patrick. I didn't have a choice. Mother Genevieve said to me, I think it would be good if you took your father's name. And I'm thinking to myself, he's not even Catholic. And no, I don't want to be known as Sister Mary Cyrus.
Oh, Cyrus.
I said, oh, Mother,
My dad's name was Oswald.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, I don't think that doesn't matter to my dad. So anyway, so you put 3 names in. And Sister Patricia Ann, the former Patricia Ann, had passed away. So that name was, and I thought, well, at least we were making up names at that time.
So Patricia's the name of the person that did
It wasn't her name, but
she liked Patrick.
Patrick.
Oh.
Right. So, and then when
I hope you
went,
told her.
Oh yeah. When I
good.
went to St. Cyprian's, I didn't know that was her parish. So I did see her a couple times there before she passed away.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
what do you do
connection.
for fun?
What do I do for fun? I like to play pinochle for fun.
Yeah,
Not too
give up those
competitive.
games, yeah.
Pinochle, I love to read,
What book are you reading now? Not a holy book. What book are you reading?
I am now reading Kristen Hanna's new book, The Women.
Okay.
It's about the women who, they were nurses in
Okay.
Vietnam.
Okay.
So I like her as an author. Yeah, I love to read.
Good.
We have a little book club with some of the nuns here.
Okay.
I like to read, pinochle. I like quiet time.
What do you do? Have you ever had a day that just said, I've got to get out of here, whether it was here or in school?
Absolutely.
Good. And so you
At
gave
school,
yourself
sometimes
permission.
I would
Yeah.
just tell my secretary, I'll be gone for a while.
Good.
And I'd go to the forest preserve.
Oh, good.
And
Okay.
either walk a little bit, or it was a good time not to be interrupted. You could write your newsletter or whatever. Or sometimes you just, we're glad to be outside.
What are you most passionate about at this time of your life?
That's a question I didn't answer because I don't know.
Well, you can
like what
answer it
I
when we
do.
do our next interview with you.
Oh, all right.
Okay, no,
Let's leave
no,
it for the
no.
next one. I don't have any strong, I don't know.
Your goodness, yeah. Goodness.
I've been thinking about that, but no, I never came up with anything.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In the circle.
Oh, come on, Kathy. Kathy.
No,
In the circle.
Well, I don't see myself leaving Adrian necessarily.
Yeah. So you made a commitment to stay here.
Yeah, moving was enough.
All right. Another important issue, which to bring up your dear friend, I always associate you and Ann.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I know she wasn't Ann Bouvet. She was your dear friend, and she was, where did you meet her?
We worked together at St. Clair's de
Okay,
Montefalco.
okay.
I had to live there when I first went to Chicago because the Star of the Sea was a Penafort house. And
Right.
they told me I couldn't live there. Later I
You were
found
too
out
young.
the nun said, oh, we would have liked to have you
Yeah,
here.
a young person.
So I had to take the bus back and forth from Claire's to Star of the Sea. But anyway, that's when Ann came. I think the second year I was there.
Okay.
And then she and Nora O'Brien wanted
Yes,
to go to the inner city. And she asked me if I would go.
Okay, so she's the one that,
And Joanne Podlucky. So the four of us went. There was another early, she wasn't professed yet. She was with us the first year, I think, or second year. So, yeah, that's how we got established. We were each in two different parishes. Ann and I were at Precious Blood, and Joanne and Nora were over at Presentation. And the idea was that we'd start putting the parishes together.
wow.
Yeah.
So you've been putting
So-
parishes and
Always
and
started
chapters
that.
and stuff together. You've just been very busy. Very good community woman.
Oh, yes.
And do you have a favorite scripture saying?
Yes, I did. It's always struck me. First of all, I'm grateful for the novitiate. When you talk about people who inspired you, of course, Rosemary Ferguson was
here
our,
in Rosemary, yeah.
and Jody. And it's the first time I had ever taken really a scripture course. And it was from Jody on St. John's Gospel. And the gospel passage that has always come back to me is from Matthew on trusting in providence.
And you have.
Just,
You have.
yeah, and you just
Even-
know. The other experience I had that I would mention is in the early 70s, the congregation asked if anyone wanted to do an immersion experience.
Right.
And I went to the DR.
Yeah.
Loved it, you know. I mean, I didn't understand a lot of the liberation theology and all that we were doing. But it touched my life. I think that's why when Ann said, do you want to go to the inner city? I said, absolutely. You know, it wasn't even a question, except for my mother.
Your mother.
Why are you going there? But, you know, she turned around. She used to come and visit us.
I was just
and
going to ask you, did
come
you,
and
she ever
eat
visit
with
you
us.
on your missions?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. She would come from work and have dinner with us. And
See, you were in Chicago.
she realized.
That's nice.
and that was good. So, yeah,
that's
trust
your
in
life.
providence.
And what's your oldest brother's name? He's the one who's...
Bill.
Bill.
He
He's-
served in Vietnam, came
When?
home in the 70s, same time I was in the novitiate,
Oh, your poor mother.
yeah. And
At least she didn't have to worry about you. Her prayers went for Bill.
absolutely. And, you know, when he died, my nephew, we were sitting in the living room and he was going through this drawer and all this stuff. And he's looking at letters. And he said to me, Aunt Kathy, who's Bridget Bardot? I said, what are you reading? He said, this is a letter that my dad got in Vietnam, and it's from Bridget Bardot.
Oh,
I
my word.
laughed. I said, that's your grandmother. That's my mother. She would sign her letters, you know, try to cheer him up. And
Yeah.
Bridget Bardot. Actually, that's how I came to be called Kathleen Klingen, because of the alliteration, KK. She
Okay.
thought that was theatrical, like Marilyn Monroe, Bridget Bardot.
Oh, God.
I became Kathy Klingen because she first wanted to call me Lynn. And the more she thought about it, Lynn Klingen. It sounds like a Chinese laundry. So she changed it. But anyway, so yeah.
Is there anything else on that list that I didn't ask? I don't ask a lot of those questions. People usually just keep talking.
Yeah.
That you really wished I would have asked because you had a great answer?
No, you had.
Come on, now's your time.
All right. Well, you said through challenging times.
Yeah,
And what do you do?
yeah.
I think, and I did put that down. I just, in prayer, I trust that inner voice. If there's peacefulness, I know it's right. And the challenge is really, like I say, the darkness is always a time of growth. We don't always remember that when we're in the thick of it.
Yeah, that's right.
But afterwards, you think, wow, that really helped me do this or see this. So.
Well, Kathleen Klingen, Sister Patricia Ann, I was sent to Florida right away, so I didn't really know you until we had a little, thing together. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, I want to thank you. You certainly are what we know as a community woman. You've responded
Thank you.
many times in many ways to the needs of the congregation. And I know at times that has got to have been a challenge. And you didn't think about what you wanted. You thought about what's the best thing for the common good, which is a model for the rest of us.
Oh,
So thank you so much.
I
You are a
thank you.
blessing.
Thank you very
KK.
much.
KK. So thank you
Oh,
again.
thank you.